high school choirs. And many times I'll do the 3 days or the 5 days or the week or whatever it is, and I'll go back home to my life, and then I'll forget about it, and then 2 weeks later I'm back and there's another one. This one is different. This one is special. I'm going to remember this one a lot for a long time, because I feel like I've gotten to know so many of you. I think probably a lot of you would agree. I've gotten to know a lot of you by name, in fact. And the personalities, I was just telling Mr. Hall this a moment ago, the personalities in this are so strong, in this group are so strong, that it's easy to get to know you. And so I've really, really enjoyed this group as much as I have ever enjoyed a group, and I've been doing this for a number of years. So I think it's gone very well, and we're here tonight to acknowledge the work you've done in preparing for these concerts, and to also to recognize a few people within the ensemble based on basically what I heard in about 20 minutes. But you know what? In a 20-minute, it doesn't even take 20 minutes. But in a small amount of time, if I'm listening to an ensemble, I can pick out pretty quickly very strong players. And that's kind of my job to do. Not only to evaluate the ensemble as a whole, but to go through and listen to the ensemble and say, wow, I hear a really great voice in this section or that section. And to be able to pull those players out. And I heard a number of those in this group. And that's what I'd like to start with, are some individual players that caught my attention. Let me say also that Cruise Festivals is a little bit different from most festivals, in that you're not competing with anybody else. Like, you're not trying to beat somebody else. This is not a first place, second place, third place. It is a festival, which means you're being evaluated more on a national scale, a scale of my experience of 28 years of teaching and all the ensembles I've heard over those years, and it's across the country and in many other countries as well, and to try to say what I think, in my experience, a high school orchestra should be capable of, and to give some kind of scoring based on that national standard. Well, it could be a fair, it could be good. If it's better than that, it could be excellent. Or if it's really, really top-notch, in the top, we'll say about 10%, we would call it superior. So that is the scale and the gradation that we're dealing with, is a fair, good, excellent, or a superior performance. Now, having said all that, let me go back, and before I recognize a few outstanding players in my mind, I'd like to recognize a few more people. First of all, I want to recognize the person who put this together, and that is responsible for you being down here, and I want to congratulate Mr. Hall. I don't have enough hands to do this, but we do recognize the flag. This is actually this ship. This is the, what are we on?
Majesty of the Seas.
Majesty, sorry. There's a lot of ships in this fleet. This is the Majesty of the Seas, and it says Cedar Falls High School, Scott Hall, Director. Thank you very much. And you know what else? Who else? I want to recognize Mrs. Hall. Where is she? Stand up. Where are you? And look where she chose to sit. Way back in the back. But I tell you what, from everything I've seen over the past 4 days, she's a mover and a shaker in this group. She's done, a time or two I have seen her scurrying around, gathering information, doing things. Today I ran into her at the concierge desk, trying to get more information, and so I know she works very hard. And of course, another group of individuals that you would not be here without. Would you please recognize the parents that are along on the chaperone? Okay, let's get to it. One of the first people that stood out to me as I was listening to the orchestra day before yesterday morning, and to me this is somebody who is kind of holding. I can't say holding it together. It's not like this ensemble is going to fall apart, but is one of the roots and the foundations rhythmically of the ensemble, who does a great job and really stands out. Is Bennett Ford.
Hey, Bennett! Hey. I know him. Thumbs up for the camera.
It goes without saying that in this orchestra, when I listen to important parts, one of the lead players that really stands out is Abby Rowland. And again, this is an outstanding musician. It's very unusual on one of these trips to have a full symphony orchestra. Normally we'll have a band or we'll have a string orchestra, but it's very rare for us to have a full orchestra. When we do, I'll tell you the tendencies is that the brass and woodwinds tend to overplay. For whatever reason, you're used to playing in a band setting, and they tend to overplay. This group, and I've talked to Mr. Hall about this, in fact, does not do that. The brass especially understand the role in the symphony orchestra, and they play to the strength of the entire group. They know where that place is, and they play very well. And for that reason, and for how articulate they are, and how well they understand their sense of balance, I'd like to recognize it's a large group, but it's the brass section. Who's going to... This is an outstanding section. Of course. And a horn player. Who is the heart of the symphony orchestra? And I tell you what, I was knocked out when I heard the strings in this orchestra. It's very, very rare to hear a string group. Again, I'll use the word articulate, but that's exactly the right word. The articulations were spot on. First violins, seriously, you played. Well, you never play flawlessly, but you played so well. As I said, there's no such thing as flawlessly. It's like perfection. But I told you this when I stood in front of you a couple of days ago, that you played the spots off the page. And I want to recognize that. First violins is an outstanding section. Now, I said a moment ago that my job was to not only listen to the entire ensemble, but to try to pick out individuals. Sometimes those individuals, depending on the repertoire you're playing, you may be playing something with an important kazoo solo or something or other, but your kazoo player may not be your most important player. However, sometimes people that aren't playing maybe the most exotic part or the most soloistic part are some of your strongest players, and they make some of the biggest differences. And somebody I pulled out in the middle of this group that I thought was doing a heck of a job and is really making a difference. I can see it, I can not only hear it, but I can see it. Do you know what I'm talking about? See it? I can see, you know what it means to emote? There's yeah, you're pointing to him already, Hanno. Okay. So obvious. And And then I have one more individual award. And gee, I've got to recognize it's so unusual to have in a high school this instrument and to be so proficient on this instrument. My goodness. I wish we had had an opportunity
and just go
and
up.
for you to play another time in the symphony.
That'd been really awkward if I didn't have.
And you can see just from that the personalities that I was talking about earlier. You know, it's not difficult for me to look out and pick out the individual players because the personalities are so strong and the musicianship is so strong. So obviously, you know, if we're getting to the point where I'm talking about the ensemble rating, with this strength, it better be good. Well, there is one more facet that we do in cruise festivals, and that is at the end of the season. Well, you wouldn't believe how many ensembles cruise on cruise festivals. According to what Dennis Rhodes, who's the president of cruise festivals, told me, he's got roughly one a day starting a cruise from February till the end of May. That's a lot of people cruising. Now, they're not all orchestras. It's a combination of orchestras, bands, jazz bands, and a lot of different things. But that's a lot of groups. If you'll think about how many days that is, he's got one kicking off pretty much every day on different ships, of course, through February all the way to May and sometimes into June. Well, what we do is you're given a score. Each group is given a score, and within each category, say symphony orchestra, band, choir, swing choir, show choir, or whatever, all of those scores are held until the end of the season. And then in early June, all of those scores are put together, and whoever has the highest score in each category is declared the sweepstakes winner for that year. So your score will be entered into this, and there is that possibility that if this is the highest score, well, you will definitely be eligible for that sweepstakes winner, and we won't know that until June. But I'll tell you what. I told you a second ago, fair, good, excellent, or superior. There is no doubt in my mind that this was a superior rating. Therefore, this is the gold medal. My personal highest score that I've given on these.
Yeah!
So,